Hey y'all, welcome to week 6 of your first year of drum lessons Drumset edition. My name is Penny Larson and I am super excited to have you with me today. You might think we're not going to do much new stuff today, but I think you'll be surprised how challenging this lesson really is. We're not going to add any new material. We're only going to combine things we've done before. But sometimes that's the most challenging thing of all, is to really put things together in a way so you start to know them well enough to be able to play them musically. But first, I thought it was a good time to at least talk a little bit about my foot technique and what's going on with both my bass drum pedal and my hi-hat pedal. We'll do a longer version of this later, but just a really quick version. You can probably see that I have my foot, first of all, I play in socks, which people debate all the time what the best footwear is or isn't. I promise I have tried everything that anyone has ever recommended. Dave Weckl released a drum shoe a long time ago, which was basically a jazz dancing shoe. And those were nice. I've used bowling shoes. I've used ballet slippers. I've used Chuck Taylors because of course I have, because everyone recommends those. I've used my regular walking around sneakers. I've used, those cute little ones with the, the diving shoes with the toes. I've tried those. Slip-on kind of things like loafers almost. And every single time I do, I come back to feeling most comfortable with socks. I feel like my feet can really feel the pedals and know what's going on. If you think about the mechanics of what's going on, with the drumstick, I am one step removed from the thing, right? The thing is the drum. I'm not playing it with my hand, I'm holding a stick. So I'm holding the thing that's hitting the thing. With the bass drum, we have this really complicated piece of engineering nowadays that holds the beater, and the beater is hitting the bass drum. And my foot is pressing down on the bass drum pedal that then is moving the beater into the bass drum. So already my foot is an extra step removed. I'm pushing down on the thing that's holding the thing that's hitting the thing, right? And for me, shoes just make me feel one more step removed from actually hitting the thing. Lots of people will say silly things about people who play in socks. I don't care. This is what works best for me. I am by no means telling you that this should or will work best for you. Please experiment with lots of different footwear. You'll be amazed at the difference it can make. So that's out of the way. I have pretty big hooves, right? I'm a big girl, so kind of most of me is pretty big. And my feet are pretty big. But what I've found works best for me is if I pull my foot, so I can play up here, right, with my foot on the pedal, which I think is what the manufacturers expect me to do. But I have found that if I pull my foot back so that my arch is over the hinge, and I'm using Gibraltar direct drive pedals, but this works with every pedal I've ever played with. If the pedal has a hinge, the arch of my foot is going to be over the hinge, whether it's a strap or a chain or whatever, or a short board or long board. So what I do for my basic motion is I pick my leg up and I drop it. And I try to keep my foot as relaxed as possible so the beater can come off the head. You can also play with the heel down motion. So that's heel up, right? Because I'm lifting my heel. There's a few different versions of heel up. You can also play with heel down. And when I play with heel down, I do tend to push my foot forward a little bit. The reality is I don't play heel down very much at all unless I need to play super quiet. And then it's just a little flick of the ankle. And same thing, you want to get so your foot gets out of the way of the pedal bouncing back. Okay? And I think that's where I want to leave it for now. We're in a couple weeks, we're going to talk about some more expansive techniques we can do with our pedal, but that's the really basic right foot technique that's going on. I'm picking my leg up and I'm dropping it. I'm getting a nice solid note and I'm letting the beater come off the head. Some people play with the beater, leaving the beater in the head. Some people do that sometimes. I do that sometimes. For me, that's not how I get the best sound out of the kick drum. So let's not even talk about that right this second in our first basic foot technique discussion. For the hi-hat, you may have noticed last week, when I'm playing on 2 and 4, I do this funky rocking motion. So I lift my toe, and then I lift my heel. So when I lift my toe, that's when it opens. And when I lift my heel, that's when it closes. And if I'm thinking of that as a 4-beat pattern, heel, 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 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. Right? Pretty basic, right? Just back and forth. And so that way with the hi-hat, I can think that it's a 4-beat pattern, and it just helps to keep it a little bit more locked into the quarter note pulse for me. If I was playing all 4 quarter notes with the hi-hat, like chick, 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 then I would use a similar heel up technique to what I'm using with my bass drum, but instead of letting my foot come off the pedal, I need to keep the pedal down, so I need to keep the pressure on the ball of my foot, and then I would just lift my whole leg. And I can make that right, I can make that different volumes. Same thing if I need to be really quiet. I would use a heel down motion. Okay, so that's the really basic foot technique discussion. Obviously, we haven't talked about double bass yet or anything, but obviously left foot on the second bass drum, same thing as the right foot, right? Try and you make the stroke with your, lift your leg, drop it, try and keep your foot relaxed, have the beater bounce off the head. Okay, so let's go back to our handout from last week. And what we're going to do is think about a 4-bar phrase. And what do I mean by a 4-bar phrase? I'm going to count 4 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then I'm back to the top, right? Okay, so we're going to use the things we did last week in 2 different types of 4-bar phrases. The first is probably more common. we're going to play 3 measures of each of these beats, and then we're going to play 1 measure of a fill, and we're going to use the paradiddle pattern because that's the one we know so far. And we'll do it with each one so we can see how that sounds. Okay? So letter A, 3 times through, and then paradiddle pattern 1. And I'll do that a couple times so you can see how that sounds. Moderate tempo. 1, 2, 3, Okay, so now letter B, still that same old We Will Rock You beat. I'm going to add back in the ride cymbal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now letter C. I'm going to have to adjust the tempo a little bit because I don't want my paradiddle pattern to be crazy fast. We could do it a little bit faster, but not too much. So, paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. So now my bass drum note is going to get twice as fast, right? Because we're going from quarter notes to eighth notes with our bass drum. So it's going to go from boom, boom, bap to boom, boom, bap, boom, boom, bap, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now that same pattern with eighth notes on the ride cymbal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and finally, quarter notes on the ride cymbal with the eighth notes on the bass drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, so that's the most common way of playing a 4-bar phrase. 3 bars of a beat, 1 bar of a fill. That's kind of a very cliche way to do that, right? It's a very, hey, look at me, I'm playing a fill kind of way. But it's a really great way to get the hang of this idea of a 4-bar phrase. Like we've talked about before, if any of these are overwhelming, remember to slow things down and give yourself time to figure them out. Okay? We're going to talk about the other way, which is a little bit more almost like a solo. So this would be more if you had like a drum break. So we're going to do 4 bars of the beat and then 4 bars of the paradiddle pattern, 4 bars of the fill. And so this is more almost like a trading fours kind of way where you'd be playing a beat for 4 bars and someone else would be taking a solo, and then you'd have 4 bars to take a solo. And because we have this one pattern that we know so far, we're going to use that paradiddle pattern over and over again. So here's letter A, 4 times of the beat and 4 times of the paradiddle pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, letter B, same thing with quarter notes on the ride cymbal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Letter C, introducing eighth notes on the bass drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, letter D, eighth notes on the ride cymbal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and finally, quarter notes on the ride cymbal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's going to wrap us up for week 6 on the drum set. And all we did was take things that we had already done and mash them together and create some more musical phrases. This is imperative for you to do with everything that you learn. You want to improvise, you want to combine things, which we haven't gotten into totally here, but we've at least started to get into the process of combining things and seeing how they can sound in a musical fashion. If this is really overwhelming, remember to slow things down, count out loud, take your time, use your metronome. A little heads up, next week is probably going to be a little bit of a slower pace. So you've got a couple weeks maybe to get your hands around this before things heat back up. Okay, next week will probably be a good time for us to take a breather and do something that we can just rock out with, right? Okay, so that's gonna wrap it up for today. If you like this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up. I would love it if you subscribe to the channel, and it'd be great if you hit the little notification icon. And I hope you're all practicing. I hope you're enjoying what we're doing here. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. And I will see you again really soon. All right, take it easy, guys. Love you all.